The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and
He missed the complete. He's crazy
Side by side, Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard.
While many fans bemoan the cookie-cutter trend of the oval tracks built in the 1990s and 2000s, the track that kicked off the boom was nothing like the 1.5-mile D-shaped ovals we so often associate with it. New Hampshire Motor Speedway's layout harkens back to the flat tracks of old that NASCAR used to run all the time. Which drivers will have the car control and prowess to master this difficult 1-mile oval? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 29 of the Premier Racing League's Patriot Fire Cup Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Justin Prince. Behind the scenes is our director, Amjad Dr. Ramjet Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Justin, for longtime fans like me, it feels weird to think of New Hampshire as one of the older tracks now, but being built in 1990, it's gathered some history. Tell us about it.
Yes, thank you very much, Joe. This track has gathered a lot of history on this 1-mile circuit. From being home to the inaugural race for the Chase when it first started in 2004, to a darker note of 2 fatal wrecks in the 2000s with Adam Petty and Kenny Irwin Jr. Now, this asphalt and granite track has seen a lot of different action across its 2 to 7 degrees of banking with a 12% grade of bank. We're going to see a lot of different action and a lot of different battles going on this 150-lap race. Now, to go into more details, let's head into your GSRC lap guide.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm Brian Yazek, taking you for a spin around the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the GSRC Chevrolet SS. New Hampshire is a 1-mile, pretty much flat oval. Really, when you bank it out, there's a little bit of banking, but I think it's just enough to keep the debris rolling down. Off into turn 1, you're going to kind of find this high groove right here and let the car roll through the middle, pick up the gas about halfway into the corner, and then all the way full throttle again on acceleration. If you get back into it too quick, it's going to spin out and get real loose out of turn 2. Back down into turn 3, same situation. Pretty easy to overshoot the entry to the corner, but the same principle applies on the other end. Let it get down to speed, don't get back to the gas too quick, and let it roll out of the corner. Now, my mark here for this guide is the number 2 up there on the fence. If you're really feeling brave, maybe for hot lapping, you might be able to brake somewhere between the 2 and the 1. If you're really brave, you might be able to go at the 1. But same principle is going to apply for a race. You're going to want to get down and get the car settled early, because that's going to help that right front give you grip throughout the run. Let it roll through the middle. Don't get back into it too quick, just like I did right here, and fight the wheel all the way off the corner, straight and across the line. That's going to complete our track guide here around the New Hampshire Motor Speedway and the GSRC Chevrolet SS. I'm Brian Yazek. Enjoy the show.
And as you can see the difference there from our lap guide here to the conditions today, it's a bit cloudy out, a bit dark today, but that's going to have a major effect on the racing, Justin. 73 degrees in the air and only 74 on the track. What are the conditions like from what the drivers have told you?
From what we've seen and what has been mentioned, really, this is a lot of different racing than we usually see on more hotter temperature tracks. We're seeing a lot of drivers trying to rubber in that 3rd and 4th groove more than usually the 2nd or 3rd grooves. Usually you don't see people riding near the wall as much in single file of these kind of cases. That's why we're seeing a lot of drivers doing that as well. There's a lot more grip when it's a colder track, but at the same time, it's also going to be a faster car and a more risk of overheating the car. So you might see some car drivers overdrive a bit on the exit still like you see on a hotter track and get loose as we're seeing a lot out of turns 2 and 4. For example, as Brett Punkari just lost it out of 4 before we switched the camera there, for example. There's a lot of different factors with this weather. Some people prefer colder track temperatures, but at the same time, you got to make sure you know how to handle the track on a colder track temperature compared to the hot side.
Now, with the difficulty of getting out at 2 and 4, on the truck race earlier this week at this same track, this series saw very few cautions. Do you think that it's going to cause a lot more yellows today over this 150-lap race?
It's very possible that we will see a lot more cautions, especially if someone loses the handle out of turn 4. We've seen some good drivers actually struggling a bit at times. Brian Yazik has lost control throughout the practice at least more than 5 times out of 4, for example, because especially out of 4, that could be a major danger area if you lose control. If someone goes sideways and bounces off that inside pit wall that you're seeing right to the left side, that can collect multiple different cars and could end the days of many different people. So this is the point of basically saying you got to make sure you do not get loose out of the corners and be careful while also making sure you don't go too hard on your entries.
And the other thing that we did see during the race with the trucks was the difficulty in trying to pass with this being such a flat track. Now, it does have variable banking, and that sometimes can encourage passing. Are the Cup cars expected to be different? Are they going to have more opportunities? You mentioned multiple grooves trying to be rubbed in. Will there be more chances to try and get some side-by-side action out there?
We're going to see a lot of it, but at the same time, it depends on how consistent you are to move through the field, because it's going to pay partially to draft a little bit of a factor, but if you do not get to good entrances and good exits and end up with exactly what we're seeing on screen, you will not be able to move through the field very quickly. You'll end up, in fact, probably dropping back. You'll see a lot of drivers going and trying to get underneath each other into turns 1 and 3 to make the pass. They got to make sure they also don't hit the brakes too much as well, because if you get the tires locked in, you'll be in major trouble. If you go in too fast, you'll also probably cause a big one in turn 3, for example, or turn 1. So you got to make sure if you want to move through that field and get side-by-side action, you do it properly and make sure you time it out exactly the way you need to do it to make the pass.
Sounds like drivers will need to be decisive if they want to try and gain positions. Now, you mentioned the tires, and I have to imagine that a flat track like this, that they will have an effect that being kinder on them could potentially gain you some opportunities late in the run. This is a fixed setup, so I'm guessing it's all just down to how well you can enter and exit those corners.
I think it is in that case too, because the tires are expected to last. Usually they can probably last the whole fuel run if you can stretch it, but you might see some people go at laps 50, 100, split the race into thirds in terms of tires, because you can make it on fuel, for example, 60 to 70 laps. You got to make sure you get the grip basically as well. It's going to be definitely much easier to manage that on the colder temperatures. You just got to make sure you drive the car well and don't end up becoming a barbecue on lap number 6. As long as you keep consistent and stay out of trouble, and as well have good track position, you should be okay.
And we see Tommy Ryan as they continue through warm-up here. Then we're going to go to qualifying in a moment. Tommy out there holding down the 4th position, looking very strong, along with some of the other expected faces who have been pretty good this season in PRL. Jeff Ward, Brian Yazik, Brody Hayes, rounding out the top 3 just ahead of Ryan, have obviously been on a tear. Ward especially, both in the truck and the Cup car, having put on some incredible races, really dominant performances.
Yeah, they definitely have, especially Ward, because if you look at the statistics in the standings, Jeff Ward in the Patriot Fire Cup Series, he's won basically 6 of the last 8 races. The only 2 he didn't win were at Pocono, where he had a dominant car for much of that race, and Watkins Glen, where he ran near the front for parts of that race before Nick Cohan went on to win that one. So at this point, pardon me, it is actually 6 of the last 9, correction there, as Tommy Ryan won at Richmond. But basically, Jeff Ward is on a tear. He's been winning just about everything in the Grand National Series. He's been winning just about everything lately in the Truck Series. He is going to be somebody to watch once again today based on the standings, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a new underdog driver or somebody who is more higher up in the standings right now, because Ward did start off a bit later in the season compared to some others, such as Yazik, such as Tommy Ryan, who's closing in. So there's a few different drivers to watch today, but all chips are in for Jeff Ward right now.
6 out of 8 or 6 out of 9, either stat is incredibly impressive. As you see, qualifying has begun. Drivers just about coming around to put their first laps in. We wait for some times to get on the board. They get 3 timed laps, I believe.
It is 2 timed laps, so the third lap would be including that out lap there, if that's what you're factoring in. But the times should be, depending on how fast you are, about the 28-second range. If you're an average car, you'll be about 28.4 and up. If you're a fast car, you'll be down below the 28.3s. So you're seeing the...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you're going to see a lot of different drivers possibly trying to get the most out of their cars. We've seen guys like Tommy Ryan at the top of the board at the moment, running well, and Drew Carroll, who has a decent run, he's at the top of the board with that one.
By an entire 10th ahead of Tommy Ryan. He certainly has found something out there. As you mentioned, most everybody in the 28 so far. Don Ronco, the last of them, the only one to be above that, and Tyler Dalton takes it away from Carroll with a 28.224. Tight. Up in the front row as we wait for more drivers to get their times in.
Yeah, there's a few different drivers still winding it in as we see Don Runkle Jr. running his lap, as you're seeing his first lap is about a 29, but I believe this would actually be his first time. Jonathan Lawrence, he's going to come around and start his lap time. As you're seeing here, we do know Don Runkle's time did actually get recorded for that 29.2.
Yes, it looks like that was Lawrence's second time. I'm keeping an eye out for when Ward gets out on track. So far, he has not elected to take his car onto the pavement. Other drivers, as Yazik comes around for his first time lap. And it looks like that's going to put him up into third. He's going to get one more bite at it. Warden has now exited the pit lane, warming up the car. Then he'll start his first timed lap. In the meantime, that number 55 of Yazik, he was second fastest in practice. He's third now on the qualifying sheets, that 28.244. Will it improve as he crosses the line? And it looks like that is not going to get any better. So Yazik is only going to stand as high as third at the fastest. Jeff Ward comes around. This starts his first time lap.
Yeah, he's going to try and diamond off that corner and through turn 2 as he turned it really aggressively on the exit of that. Going to let off at about just between the 2 and the 1 sides there, rolling it around the corner, and then just getting the good exit. We'll see if this can get him up near the top of the board, if not the top. In fact, it will by a full 10th of a second. Look at that, Joe. That's what we've been seeing all season from Jeff again, showing he's got a fast pace already.
Not willing to let up an inch. Jeff Ward wants to put on a dominant performance week after week, and it's looking like it might be another one if qualifying is anything to go by. But going fast over one lap is very different than going fast over 150 of them. Ward completes his second lap now as we watch Harden work his way around. And it looks like Ward will not improve on his second way around the track.
Yeah, the thing with Ricky Harden is he actually was near the top of the practice leaderboard, about 7th overall with the 28.3. So he is able to get some decent speeds here. In fact, he's got enough of a speed to get him in the top 5. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him running near the front, as that should finish off his run.
In fact, he does pull over, so that's it for Ricky Harden, which gives us the opportunity, with nobody else out on track, to award our MP3 Designs Pole Award. And of course, it goes to Jeff Ward emphatically this week.
Yeah, he just absolutely dominated with his time. He showed the consistency in practice, continued that through qualifying, and set a precedent with that 1/10 of a second difference. Just able to diamond it through 2 without getting too loose. Sharply aggressing, turning it a little bit actually through that. Then just properly rolling it through here from that 3rd groove, cutting down to the 2nd, almost to the 1st, and just getting a super fast exit to properly make it around this track.
Loud Pedal Motorsports driver could take another one today. We'll have to keep an eye out and see what the number 89 can do with this sort of pace, as the drivers have now exited the track and are currently listening to the drivers' meeting, getting familiar with what's expected of them today. And speaking of expectations, Justin, what are you thinking we're going to be seeing today? Is it going to be a lot of clean racing? Are we going to see a lot of chaos out there? What sort of race are you imagining?
It will depend on essentially how we see things go at the start, because I expect this to, as you mentioned, was clean during the truck race. But at the same time, the Cup cars are a whole different animal. At times you can go flat foot around the tracks with the truck series. Here you can't really do that so much, or else you'll go slamming into the safer barrier wall. So it will be a mix between some long runs and some short runs where cautions breed cautions at times. I wouldn't be surprised to see more than, I'd say, an over-under of 4 cautions for today's race.
Well, based on what we're expecting with the tire wear, I think we should see at minimum about roughly 5 pit stops from the drivers. So 4 cautions would serve them just about right. Maybe have about 1 green flag pit stop cycle in there, and that could make things interesting on a short track like this with only 28-second laps. As we see James Krahula just sitting at the end of the pit lane, he's going to elect to start from the back, I believe, as I don't see... Oh, he did get a lap time in, actually. It is going to start at the back, unfortunately, having qualified in 19th. This is Tommy Ryan out there, simply getting some warm-up in, was not satisfied with all he got in with the 2 hours of practice that they were allowed at the start of this race. Mm-hmm. So, as the clock continues to tick down, even though we've still got Tommy out on the track, I guess the pit lane is clear enough that the color guard has come out, and they are going to play the nation's anthem for us. Play ball. Just about a minute to go before we get the cars all gridded up. We'll go around for 1 pace lap, and then we go green for 150 laps around this 1 mile oval. Well, my usual question for most of my co-commentators, Justin, at this point is, who's your pick today? Who's looking good?
The obvious pick, Jeff Ward. Like I mentioned when introducing some of the drivers to expect to do well today, I expect him to do the same as long as he keeps up front and keeps it clean. I wouldn't be surprised as well to see Brian Yazek and Tommy Ryan work their way quickly up into that top 3 and make it an interesting battle to the finish, especially with Yazek and Ryan having to focus on their points battles and especially Ryan, who is catching up to Yazik, in fact, in the most recent weeks.
I personally would not bet against Ward either. I've seen how he's performed over in the trucks in my coverage over there, and I'm going to have to go with you. Now, whether or not that plays out as the commentator's curse for us today, we'll have to see. I'm sure a few drivers would like that to happen, but we do not wish ill on Jeff Ward as they start to grid up. So let's go through the field. Ward, again, as we said, is on the pole today. Tyler Dalton will be on the outside of row 1 with Drew Carroll starting in 3rd. Brian Yazik got bumped down to 4th before all was said and done on qualifying. Ricky Harden will start in 5th. In 6th today on the outside of row 3, it'll be Tommy Ryan with Brett Poncari starting in 7th. P8 will be Brody Hayes, Jonathan Cadell in 9th, and then rounding out the top 10, Justin, is Jonathan Lawrence.
Just behind them in row number 6, it's Devin Serra on the inside with Michael Krolbach in his number 7 machine, starting 12th. Norman Peltier starts in 13th with Woody Mahan to his right. Thomas George in that 24 machine starts in row 8. Troy Haight starting off in 16th. Derek Paulson starts off in row 9 with Justin Rodden to his outside in 18th. James Krahula, he'll start in the back today in 19th with Joshua King in his pink machine in 20th.
21st will be Don Runkle Jr. with Rick Thompson starting in 22nd as the pace car now starts off to lead them around the lap. 23rd will be Brad Collins. Matt Murphy will be in 24th with John Wilco in 25th. And Stephen Herrings will round out the field in 26th position. Relatively full field out here today in the Cup cars. Could make it interesting with a full track, relatively short track, and many cars out there.
Well, it's a relatively short track, but it drives more like it's a very unique track. Let's just put it that way, because when you think mile, you think maybe Bristol in some cases or shorter, but this is a whole beast in itself, a very flat track. They discussed the too wide to handle the too wide situations on the flat surfaces. We'll see how they tame it today as they come to turn 4.
The Mustang pace car is going to be peeling off any moment into pit lane and release these beasts for the entirety of this race, hopefully for a long time until the yellow. As the green flies, Jeff Ward with a great jump on the inside. The number 19 slots in behind him, still too wide behind them for 3rd. As Drew Carroll trying to carry the speed down on the inside. Could he try and drift up? Doesn't look like it. The high side's going to work much better for Brian Yazik, who finds himself looking at 3rd.
Everyone's trying to good single file and work the way into a rhythm, as you're seeing here, as the top line is the better place if you want to be on restarts, unless, of course, you're Jeff Ward in this situation. You're seeing a lot of drivers working themselves single file into that to go into damage control. As you can see, Ricky Harden, he's keeping to the bottom, though. Devin Serra, he's trying to make that bottom work. Look at all this battling right now. Still too wide in some spots, but mostly single file as a bunch of drivers trying to dive for position into turn 3.
Using that run off the corner, seeing a few drivers have to lift to keep out of the outside wall. That gives a few people a run. Back of the pack is definitely where most of the action is, as we watch Jonathan Lawrence there trying to hold off Woody Mahan.
Yeah, he had a pretty bad exit out of turn 3 and 4, so he has had an actual nerve bad exit. He is dropping like a rock very quickly. He started this race in 10th. He's already out to 15th, potentially about to drop to 16th. In fact, will drop to 16th. Something is going on with that 66 machine.
Certainly hasn't gotten the driving line down. Derek Paulson overtakes him. Troy Haight takes a peek to the inside. Normally, we see the high line work around this track a little bit better with that variable banking, but it is not working for Jonathan Lawrence, who continues to have to lift on the exit. We jump on board with James Krahula riding behind them.
Yeah, James, he's just watching what's going on, and he's just going to get another position as Krahula is starting to work his way quickly through this field, really. He started just a couple of positions forward, but he's looking to be on a good race pace, quicker than a lot of the cars around him, and he's just able to keep the momentum. Meanwhile, Woody Mahan is also one of the main drivers moving through this field very quickly now, as he's in a battle for 13th.
Mahan just underneath Norman Pelletier through 3 and 4, and it looks like he's going to get that position easily on the exit. Drivers making their moves early may have to pay for it later. As we mentioned, tire wear coming into play. It's a deep dive by Derek Paulson on the inside of Pelletier. Forces him up wide. Brett Punkinari maybe involved in something? Looks like Cadell drifted wide out of 2. I think there was some contact with David Serra. Oh, we managed to avoid him just barely as we watch the replay.
Yeah, let's get to this replay. You can see he's running on that higher groove, gets it snapped loose right on the exit, and just takes a hard right into the wall. He's still going, but he lost a ton of track position as we got a caution trouble in turns 1 and 2.
Justin Rodden. We're watching on board, Punkinari. Wow, close call on that one. We come back to this earlier incident, the number 27 of Rodden turned into 1. And it looks like James Kurhula stuck his nose in a little bit too late, turned him around. All we had was a half spin.
Yeah, that was happening just as we were finishing up that replay. Kurhula clipping into Rodden. And that's the case of you have to make sure you don't go in too hard to make sure you don't have exactly that. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can really do except lock down the brakes and hope you don't hit the wall and get some damage. As we do have a couple collisions as these cars are trying to get together, but they are pretty clean for the most part, both of them, so they'll still be in fairly good shape. Just got to get some new tires on them.
Bit of a scare there from the onboard of the number 4. Able to continue. We should report, though, Jonathan Cadell has blown his engine, was smoking around the track, had to pull off. He's entered the pits, and with them not having any free repairs, I'm afraid that is day over for the number 11. No lucky dog as drivers have now come into the pits trying to get their stops done. Ward cleanly into his stall. He's going to easily be first out. Brody Hayes returns in second. Ricky Harden is going to come out in third. Bit of a tight fight for fourth, though. Tyler Dalton beats out Yazik and Mahan.
Yeah, with the amount of laps returned, there are some drivers going with 2 tires to move through that field. Brody Hayes being one of them. Ricky Harden as well. And Woody Mahan just outside that top 5 now because of strategy. So everyone, for the most part, took 4 tires except for those couple of drivers. So that's going to be interesting to see how it will measure out, pardon me. But with this being about a 10-lap difference on tires, I don't think it's that big of a major difference.
James Kurhula, with that incident, wanted to try and repair a little damage. He's late out. That's going to move him to the tail end of the field. As they get back lined up behind the Mustang pace car. Covered a lot of road races on here, Justin. I'm trying to get myself out of the habit of saying roof pace car.
Yeah, we do have Mustangs here. You can choose which pace cars are ran during which races. We have used the roof a few times, but of course today's the Mustang, so basically, yeah, the Mustangs just having some nice little fun right now, leading this group around as we are coming back to green.
Jeff Ward has elected to take the top side, as this series, if you're not familiar, the leader can choose which side they want to restart on with this double wild restarts. The number 89 waiting for the pace car to peel off in. He's going to have to fend off Brody Hayes. Gets in a fantastic jump. In fact, he left Hayes out to dry, and he is looking at maybe getting passed by the number 19 of Tyler Dalton with a run around the outside. Yazik down to the inside, trying to size him up, see what he can do. He holds that inside line, drifts back up to the high side. Still too wide there for second place.
Yeah, still too wide. Ricky Harden actually almost bounced off the wall as Dalton is able to fight off Hayes, getting a faster exit coming into the turn, but it's almost 3 wide and still too wide as Harden's trying to hold off Yazik and Mahan's trying to hold off Ryan. As look at all this battle, 2x2, 2 abreast, and Carroll's trying to make it a 5-car battle just like that.
Apologies, that was Ricky Harden I was looking at on the inside of that restart. The number 15 fending off Brian Yazik for third place right now. Side-by-side battle behind them between the number 12 of Mahan and the number 6 of Ryan. Ryan trying hard to get the power down off of that corner. Almost drifts up into his competitor, but stays side by side, and it's a drag race to 1.
Yeah, we're seeing this drag race. Ryan just getting a bit of a better entrance, but Mahan does have the better line, but he's not able to get a good exit, so there's still 2x2, and Ryan's in the perfect position as Mahan actually scraped the wall going down that straightaway to take away the position and move his way into 6th. And he does just that as he bounces off the wall.
Boy, it's tight confines for this battle, and Mahan loses the momentum with Drew Carroll sticking it in deep down into turn 1. Tries to carry it off of there. He's just behind Tommy Ryan. Doesn't look like he's going to hold up his momentum. He gets it done.
Yeah, he gets it done, but Drew Carroll, you can see he's going to have to make sure he gets in front of Mahan and make sure he does it without bouncing off the wall on the exit to slide up. He does just that, but Devin Serra, he had a fast car in practice. He's moving to the field quickly as he's in a battle for 8th, as we got a big battle. Yazik trying to get by Hardin for 4th.
And it looks like he's got it done, as Hardin is going to have to slot back into P5. So Yazik making moves to try and get back up to where he began this race. Boy, it was almost like a domino effect back there in the mid-pack, Justin. As soon as someone got past, everybody behind started trying to take advantage.
Yeah, that's the kind of racing we see here at New Hampshire, where if you get bumped to the higher line with driving based on how you get past it, I should say, you could lose 2, 3, 4, 5 spots. You got to make sure you get back into the line as soon as you can to minimize the damage when someone does make that pass attempt on you. It's now to the point where everyone's single file for this exact reason, waiting for someone to make a mistake or to just get a good enough run compared to your competitors to get underneath. Brody Hayes, one of those cars with 2 tires, he's getting ready to just do that with Tyler Dalton as he's closing in slowly on that back bumper.
We ride on the dashboard of Mr. Hayes, chasing down Dalton. And though just ahead of them, you can get a peek of Jeff Ward, our leader. Despite the pace advantage over qualifying, he's not really gunned away too quickly. He's got 7/10. He's still within reach should he make a mistake, that number 89. Right now, he's not so worried if he sees a battle erupt between the 19 and the 10. Or when the 19 drifts wide, that's going to hurt his speed off the corner. Brody Hayes down to the inside. This is the opportunity he was waiting for. Can't quite get it in deep enough, though, as he's going to have to hold that bottom line just behind the 19. Coming off the corner, speed goes back to Dalton.
Yeah, Dalton's going to have to fight hard to keep this spot, and he's going to, looks like he might be able to secure it. Now they have to also worry about Brian Yazik, because if Yazik gets by Hayes, what stops Hayes from saying, oh, Yazik's going to be able to open up the door for me? So he might be thinking about that as well when trying to get by Dalton here for this top 3 spot.
Still a ways to go, though, for Yazik to catch them. Behind him, a little bit of a battle between Ryan and Drew Carroll, as he is very much putting the pressure on for that 6th spot on track. He's doing the same to Ricky Hardin ahead of him.
Yeah, they're all working into tandems at this point, really. You can see their times really have already fallen down, I should say, to the 29 flats. And that's how much the tires are becoming a major factor already in this race. That's why you see usually in some races that drivers might short pit for those tires to make sure they maximize the speeds. And that's what you're seeing here. Hardin just able to keep the exact pace he needs to. He's not making any mistakes really with that 2-tire strategy, as Tyler Dalton just made a mistake and Hayes is back underneath for the 2nd spot.
This time he lets him through. No hesitation from the number 10 as he slots into 2nd. And that battle has allowed Yazik to catch up. We're going to watch the pass here. The 19, I'm assuming, just goes a little high and has to collect the car back together. And that's all the invitation that Hayes needed.
Exactly the invitation he needed. That's the exact invitation everyone will take when given that shot. And that's why similar chances for Devin Serra. He's moved by Woody Mahan up to 8th spot. Just as that was going on, now he's got to focus on getting those top 3 those 3 cars right in front of him. We're still single file for that top 5, all running about the same pace. But Yazik he's still running fairly fast. He's about a tenth slower in the last lap compared to his competitors, or around that ballpark, I should say, but he is slowly closing in on those drivers, slowly but surely. All of this, though, helps Jeff Ward.
Certainly does. He's stretched it out now to 1.3. They've been racing for green for the longest stretch that they've had since the race started. And he's making good of it right now. Boy, it is getting extremely tight for that fifth spot, though, as Tommy Ryan is all over the rear spoiler of Ricky Harden, and he has his own pressure. Drew Carroll has not relented whatsoever. Down into turn 3 once again. They're going to stay single file. I think it's only a matter of time before someone gets shaken up here, though.
Yeah, you can see Harding, he actually got a tiny bit loose and is actually still a bit loose on the exit. That opened up the door for Ryan, and that's exactly what both of them were waiting for.
Oh.
And there's a caution.
Pelletier and Paulson involved in that one. The 5 turned around. Let's see if we can figure out what happened in replay. Looks like those 2 cars that I mentioned came together in 4, and the poor number 5 of Paulson got tipped around into the wall. Pelletier as well had a little bit of a smack into that pit wall.
Yeah, we'll see you on board with Norman Peltier for this one, because he was on the bottom trying to make a pass, just came up into Paulson, it seems, on the exit, and just nothing you can do there except hold on and hope you minimize damage. Both of them smacked the wall a fair amount, and both of them will probably have to get some type of repairs at the very least. That helps a lot of the drivers who took 2 for strategy, though, especially Hayes.
Oh, and our drivers are just now catching up to the pace cars, so some of them coming in very fast to the pit lane. Hopefully nobody will get a speeding penalty as they all stream down with all that green flag racing. Pretty much everybody electing to come in for tires.
I mean, wouldn't you in this case, with the tires wearing out very fast like this? So everyone coming in. Ricky Harden actually slid through his pit stall a little bit. The question is, who will try and shift it around for strategy if everyone goes for the tires? Looks like that is the case. In fact, yes, it is that case, as it was a close battle for the pit race. Brian Yazik falls to 4th. Now, it looks like no speeding penalties as of yet for everyone coming out of the exit. So a good stop for just about everybody. All 14-second stops, given the exception of maybe 1 or 2 in the 13-second range.
Well, poor Brutus has not gotten out for his exercise yet, and he won't once more, as despite all the green flag racing, we have no drivers a lap down yet. Nobody's going to get the lucky dog. With that, we're going to take a short break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll be back for the green. If you can hear me at the fridge, hurry back with your snack because we're going back green this lap. Jeff Ward is going to lead the way. Brody Hayes is going to restart in 2nd, Dalton 3rd, Yazik 4th, and Tommy Ryan will round out the top 5. Once again, Ward elects to take the top side, with that high line being the favored one. Pace car peels in. Once more, Jeff Ward with a good jump. This time, not as bad of a start for the number 10. In fact, he bobbles up cars. 2nd place gets into the wall. That's Tyler turned onto his lid. A number of cars finding themselves slotted up into the outside of 1, trying to avoid that incident.
Well, I think that just shifted a lot of things around with this race, because I did mention some longer runs, and then the cautions, precautions. Dalton just went up the track a bit and possibly got clipped as well. Flipped up and over, and that turned into a collection of other cars. Drew Carroll eventually getting involved. Woody Mahan, who was working through the field, got caught involved. As we'll see from Yazik to figure out exactly what happened here, as based
just
on
got
that,
pinched.
yeah, it just looks like he just got pinched on that restart, and it just snowballed from there, and everyone else just piled in from there.
And watch on board Mahan. It almost looks like Hayes, as he was drifting over, Dalton got some target fixation. So watch from the Loud Pedal Motorsports driver, who really gets caught up in the checkup behind him. If anything, he gets punched into that wall. But it looks like target fixation from the number 19 caused him to drift, and poor Brian Yazik had nowhere to go in all of that. He was boxed in.
Yeah, I don't even know what to really say with that. You mentioned driver fixation. They do mention you look where you want to go, usually. So if you're looking at a car going higher up the track, in this case, you might follow them up the track. It's something that happens in real life too, where you look at a stop sign, you might turn into the stop sign. That is the case of turning into a stop sign right there.
Drew Carroll really had a hard hit into the outside of one and all of that, and unfortunately that has sent him back to 17th. A number of drivers have elected to come in for repairs, which is no surprise.
Yeah, no surprise at this point, really. John Wilco's still sitting in the pit stall too, and he's just going to barely keep on the lead lap as well. But we do have quick cautions, so we basically are just about set to get green just about here. Just going to triple check this. In fact, we are
we're
one to
doubled
green.
up. Lights are off on the pace car, and once again, poor Brutus is left in his doghouse, as we had no lucky dog that time around. This has shuffled things up at the front, so your restart this time will look like Jeff Ward, Brody Hayes, Tommy Ryan, Devin Serra, and Thomas George. We really haven't talked about at all yet this race, so a big shuffle up in the top 5.
Yeah, that is a big shuffle. That's going to change the complexion of the whole race in terms of contenders. You do have Thomas George the top 5 in points. He's still looking for his first win. That kind of helps him situation-wise. Plus, you have guys like Serra up front and so forth as they come into turn 4.
Well, if cautions beget cautions, we've had 2 quick ones in a row. Are we going to get a third? Pace car peels off. Jeff Ward has control. Gets a quick jump. This time, Brody Hayes. He holds to the outside. Now he cuts back over when he knows that he's fully clear. Behind him in third, Devin Serra taking a peek to the inside, but it's a side-by-side battle between Tommy Ryan, who slides up to the outside into 7, barely stays out of him, and we stay green.
Yeah, that was very close. You can see he reacted just when he noticed that he was coming up, just shooting it a little bit to the left. It's still 2 wide action, just about 3 wide, just off behind him a few groupings. Jeff Ward still taking advantage of that clean air meanwhile. Everyone once again trying to get the single file, then work their way through the field.
You can see Troy Haight, who we're watching, did not have a good run off of 4, and this is going to lose him 2 spots because up around the outside, Rick Thompson accelerates away. It was Matt Murphy ahead and the green and black machine who got by. And now the number 27 of Justin Rodden finds himself in some side-by-side action. He gets passed by Krahula, who gets himself into 11th.
Now Krahula, even with that damage, is still running at a fairly decent pace. If you don't have engine damage and it's just cosmetic, it will slightly affect you, but right now, it isn't affecting them in a major situation. So this is something that's good for them. You can see Brian Yazik, meanwhile, even with that damage, still in the lead lap, and he's still trying to carve his way through cars. The battle for 13th at the moment with Jonathan Lawrence.
Yazik certainly seems to have his fair share of bad luck in the Premier Racing League, as he's ahead of a battle between Hardin and Lawrence. Side-by-side action. Oh, and actually, as I say that, Hardin pulls away drastically, and Lawrence loses all the momentum. There's a car down the inside, the number 27 of Rodden.
Yeah, Rodden, we're going to see the replay here, what's going on, as he's back on track, and everything's running smoothly for him now, as this is something that was also seen in practice, and people were preparing just in case for this. Getting loose off of 2, trying to make sure he didn't plow into those tires to the left, and he didn't bump his way loose around and spin and flip around. He's just able to keep it stabilized and keeping it going. He does fall back, though, a lot of spots.
Indeed, it puts him back to 19th on track. He's going to have a lot of hard work. A little bit up in the mid-pack, a battle for ninth happening as Ricky Thompson behind Matt Murphy is trying to find his way around, putting the pressure on. Matt Murphy slides wide, just barely keeps it out of the wall, creates a 3-wide situation. Krahula on the bottom is the one who comes out the best, and poor Troy Haight has to lift to keep out of the mess.
That's the smart decision. You do not want to cause an incident there going 3 wide, especially here in New Hampshire and that kind of situation. Yes, you had Matt Murphy having a great run before that in the top 10, but now he's just got to focus on the recovery. He's got probably some damage along that right side. In fact, he does have fair amount of damage on that right side. He's just got to focus on the damage control, especially with Haight on his back door and Yazik trying to get on his back door.
And Yazik, I'm sure, is thankful that another Shamazel didn't open up in front of him, is once again going up high. We've got Matt Murphy losing the line. Underneath, Troy Haight tries to carry the speed. Yazik is keeping a watchful eye, wondering if a door may open, allowing him one more spot. He drifts a little bit high as he watched the side-by-side action. Behind him, Ricky Harden also poking his nose in a little bit, but still, they are not going to be able to sort it out as Brian Yazik dips to the low side. Matt Murphy drifts up high, seems to like that high side, but it does not like him. As he loses the speed, Troy Haight keeps it up off the corner, but not quite enough.
Yeah, this is an intense battle here, trying to complete the pass. He just can't get the run he needs to. You can see he's trying to hit the gas a little bit to get it to roll a little bit better on exit. In fact, he gets some help with Matt Murphy getting a bit loose. As there's a car around the backstretch. It's Peltier.
No caution. He's able to rejoin. Now, did he hit the inside wall? So he comes off 3, just loses that back end. Does a great job. Off of 2.
Yeah, he just barely avoided the tires and the wall and kept it going enough to stay in the top 20. This is a battle for the lead.
Jeff Ward has not been able to run away like he has before. The number 10 keeping him honest. He is within 0.2 of a second. They've also got David Serra very close behind. I'm wondering if this is maybe a more tempered drive we're seeing from Ward to try and hold on to his tires, anticipating the long run.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of drivers anticipate both the short and long run, so you got to make sure you're fast on both. That is why essentially Jeff Ward has been running at the 29 flats, really, and running to make sure he keeps the tires as fresh as he can, because we are approaching the halfway point in the near future here. Lap 75 today is your halfway point. He might be trying to wait until then, and he wants to make sure his tires last with a decent pace until then. And he knows he's got the car to keep out in front of Hayes at the moment and Devin Serra. And Devin Serra, I'm really impressed with his run. Running a part-time schedule essentially here in the Cup Series, and he's running one of the best runs I've seen personally in his entire time here in this top 3 and gaining on these top 2.
Got a little bit of luck to get him up onto the podium position, but sometimes you have to take what is handed to you. Right now, that is what Devin Serra is doing. Those new to the Patriot Cup or Patriot Fire Cup Series, we mentioned the halfway award. Now, we will not have a caution like they do in the Real World Cup Series. They will continue to race unless they have an incident, of course. But there is an impetus for drivers to try and get up to the front. A few of them have made an effort to try and get those extra bonus points to help them in the championship. Drivers like James Krahula, known for trying alternate strategies to allow him the opportunity.
Yeah, those alternate strategies, as well as some luck, has got him into 9th at this point, trying to hold on to that position, try and maybe get a pass on Rick Thompson, as that grouping has fallen off to about 29 fours, about 3/10 slower than the leaders, but he's going right for that 8th position spot, diving to the bottom, again a great run through that corner, and he will complete the pass as Rick lets him on by. But this is a big run we're seeing, though, I want to point out, from Serra as well as Brett Poncari of Captain Motorsports, owned by one of our own, Chris Scala. Both of them have been running very well today, Pancari in 7th at the moment, right behind Thomas George, who has quietly been running in 6th. Both of these guys probably having some of the best races we've seen from them for much of the season, and a lot of consistency to be up front at the moment.
Remember that incident in the last caution, Yazik and Harden being involved in that? Well, those two who started in the high teens have now cracked the top 10. Yazik already eyeing up Ricky Thompson. The two of them quickly disposed of the car of Troy Haight. Number 15 now already falling back, and it's only been a lap since they got by.
Yeah, it seems like Thompson's having a sort of issue here. He's falling about 2/10 slower.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We've got a battle for the lead, poking his nose to the inside. Brody Hayes is getting greedy now. Doesn't want to sit into second. He wants to take that top spot, running just a little bit of a lower line than our leader.
Very low line. He's got to make sure he doesn't get too loose. He does get a tiny bit loose. That leaves him going back to single file. He's going to have to work for another couple laps again to prepare for a pass. It was just a little too low. You can get low on that bottom groove on the exit of 2. That's exactly why he could not get to the inside in that case. It was too low in that case.
Now, if you're Jeff Ward, Justin, obviously you know, I've got to save my tires, but if you start racing side by side, I would assume that would chew up tires as well. Is this a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation?
It might be in the situation. Well, Ward does have the pace. If it does get to the point where someone does catch up and make that pass, which Hayes is very close to doing, he's got to look at the situation and say, should I let him on by or should I try and keep the position? It's very likely he'll go and try and let him on by for the purpose of he knows there's still a long ways to go. It's only lap 52. We're only a third of the way through this race. So it's still a lot of time if he wants to get that lead back. So he might just go and let on Hayes by if it gets too much for him.
So far he hasn't. He's defended well in that number 89. He's been keeping an eye on the mirrors. Now he's starting to duck a little bit lower. He's gotten wise to what Brody Hayes has been attempting as he squares off that exit. And that train of cars, first through third, stays in that order. Ward, Hayes, Sarah. Let's jump back to 6th, though. As Thomas George, we wondered how he would fare, having not really shown much flash so far this race, and just quietly worked his way up to the 6th position. Pancari, for the Captain Motorsports team, has been hounding him, but is not close enough to make an attempt yet.
He was trying to make an attempt about a lap ago. That's why we're looking at this battle for the most part. Pancari is starting to work his way back to that, now having to reel his way again, because it does take multiple laps to position for a pass at a track like this on this 1 mile circuit. He's just waiting again to just get underneath in the right exit. He's right now 0.3 of a second, is now actually losing some ground. But Thomas George, we were talking about him. He's been having a great run just about the whole day, consistent. He's been consistent for much of the season. There is a reason he's in top 5 in points. He's, while quiet at times racing, he's consistently in the top 10, 16 top 10s for a reason.
Consistency wins championships. However, towards the back of the back. Oh, we've got a wreck. Brad Collins calling it out. Let's see. Oh, it's just ahead of him.
It's just
Rodden. Looking at the replay, once again, the nefarious turn to exit. It bit many drivers in the truck series. This time, he did not avoid the wall. The number 27 overcorrects, spins it into the outside wall.
Now let's take a look on the onboard here, Joe. As we'll see here, he was trying for that lower exit, and then the back end just disappeared, and he tried to save it and just could not. He hit the front of that car too, so that will be a risk of having some motor damage because of that, as it does mean we'll get some fresh tires.
Which drivers were needed with that long green flag run. Now we do have a lucky dog finally. Stephen Herring is going to get it this time, as he was the top car a lap down. So this is our Coastal Safety Auditor's lucky dog with Brutus your one-stop shop for fire, life, and safety equipment and services. Coastal Safety Auditors. Stephen Herring for Back Row Motorsports is going to get back onto the lead lap. The only other car a lap down, in fact, multiple laps down, Tyler Dalton, returned to the track shortly before that incident. We've only had 4 DNFs so far. That's Drew Carroll, Woody Mahan, Josh King, and Jonathan Cadell. Everybody into the pits.
Everybody, you should expect to take 4 tires with that long run, and you don't know when the next caution's going to end up coming out again, so look at all these pit stops. Everybody filling up on that Sunoco fuel. We'll see what's going on with the way everyone gets timing.
Ward makes it out first, Hayes second, how they came in. Sarah third. Krobach moves himself up into 4th position. I believe that was a 2-tire stop for him.
Krobach, he had about a 13.7. I think it was just a case of having a good pit crew, because he just had a very, very quick stop. And it also seen Thomas George keep his slot. James Corhula is now up to 7th, as Pankari lost 2 spots too.
And Corhula started in 19th, mind you. Did not get a great qualifying, although sometimes he doesn't get as much of practice as he likes, as he tends to have to rush in after real-world obligations. But he has certainly made good during the race and has found his legs. I believe, are the lights off on the pace car?
No, they are not.
One more lap around.
Yes, because we do have some lucky dogs for the first time today, or a lucky dog, I should say. We do have a longer pace lap by an extra lap. You can see Dolan's going to have to get a wave around. He is about 13, 14 laps down at the moment. With all that damage, he will definitely be off pace. He's just for the point of trying to make sure he gets as much points as he still can in this situation, as Ward takes the outside for the restart.
Meanwhile, a little bit of some fun happening over the radios as drivers are having a little bit of New Hampshire Idol, I think, out there. Some singing happening between the drivers. Yazik has worked his way mostly back up after having that incident at the last caution. Drivers are in surprisingly good spirits, despite already having 3 yellows so far.
Well, you have to be positive in some ways, and you have to lighten up the mood in some way. So everyone's pretending to be Rick Allen at this point, so that's what you do when you want to ease the tension. You have some fun, poke some things around, then focus on the racing as soon as that green flag drops. And you did mention Brian Yazik in 8th spot, still with that damage, so damage or not, he's got a fast car. So it's very likely he's just got a bit of aero damage, and it might actually slightly help him if he has a tiny bit of motor damage on those entrances. But we'll have to see as we go green once again.
Mustang pace car leads them through 3 and 4. 15 laps until we get the halfway award. Are we going to see some hard chargers? Are we going to see some drivers make some risky moves? As Ward gets a great jump, and there's a big checkup behind the number 10. Devin Serra trying to hold on to that 3rd place, slipping to the inside. Krobach carrying the speed up on the high side in the middle lane. Tommy Ryan underneath him as they get very close on the exit of 2. The 7, though, is boxed in. Even though he gets a run, this is going to allow the number 6 of Tommy Ryan to slip down to the inside.
Yeah, right now everyone's just dicing along. Look at this. Clean restart for the most part, as everyone's just filed single file. As it seems everyone's discussing what happened with that restart, in fact. But that's just racing. You gotta take your lumps. You gotta focus on things. And if you're everybody else, you're gonna try and make a train on Krobach. And try and get a pass on Krobach, I should say.
Sounded like someone missed a shift. I didn't catch which driver. Meanwhile, Brett Pankari has not had a great restart. He has slipped back to 12th.
Yeah, he's just shifting along backwards. He didn't get the chance to move into the line. He did lose some spots on pit road, then lost 3 more on that restart. So he's going to have to work up and get all the spots he had gained before again. He does seem to have the pace on the long run. He just needs that long run to do that. And he has to just wait to see what happens in front of him, because they do have James Grahula, Ricky Hart, and Matt Murphy, all of them looking and dicing a little bit with their entries right now.
This time around, Jeff Ward does not seem to be messing around. He extended quite a gap. He's slowed it up a little bit now, just as I said that, and bring it up. Brody Hayes reeling him in. Devin Serra has not been able to hold on to the back of these guys for a while. He was under threat from Tommy Ryan, but he has since backed off, and now we're seeing what we saw before as Brody Hayes already peeking to the inside. We ride on board with him.
Yeah, you can see Hayes. He's actually going to get on top of Ward. That is an aggressive move. And Ward's going to get squirrely.
Manages to collect it, but here comes Brody Hayes with a great run, late onto the brakes, down to the inside. They almost come door to door, drifting up to the outside, trying to give him a little bit of space. Jeff Ward, his survival instincts kicking in, but it pays off as he's able to carry it off the corner. Now the number 10 very much under threat himself as Devin Serra takes advantage of that side-by-side action to close in. It is a three-way battle for the lead.
I think Brody Hayes may have found something. If he can get above Jeff Ward on the entrance to a turn, he might be able to finally make that position. He's going to get under him again as he's got the money place where he's been. The exit of 4 for Hayes.
Can't keep the momentum off of there. He's going to slot back into second. I asked whether or not we were going to see some aggressive moves to get those halfway points, and we are seeing them indeed. The number 10 staying right in the tire tracks of the number 89. As they come to turn 3 one more time, Brody Hayes gets right up to the rear bumper, gives a hello to the 89.
I don't think that's the proper place to do a bump draft, especially in the middle of a turn, because Brody Hayes, I know he's trying to close in as much as he can. You also got to make sure you don't, bump and run on lap 68. And make sure you don't pile up about 10 cars behind you. And now that's going to lead to Jeff Ward trying to space it out as everyone essentially has got a shot for this lead at this point.
Yeah, they've even got to worry about Tommy Ryan, who closed in for a moment. He's dropped back once these guys have sorted themselves out. I wouldn't call that a bump draft so much as a chrome horn there from Brody Hayes. Making sure that that number 89 knows he has not left the building in any fashion whatsoever. They come back into 3 one more time. They're running out of laps for him to try and get by as he closes in one more time. Ward is able to fend him off yet again. They cross it and get into 5 laps until that award comes.
Correction there, it is 6 laps until the halfway point, Joe. But right now, this is the action you like to see. For the most part, it's just consistent for the most part. But we got trouble down the back.
Rick Thompson involved in that one.
Looks like he saved it. He might have saved it. We'll see the GSRC replay. He got loose off of 2, which has been in a few different drivers today.
It's a fantastic catch by the 76.
Yeah, he was so close to going right in front of that 5-car, Derek Paulson, but he just locked up the brakes just enough to keep it out of that lane. And now we're still green with about 5 laps until halfway. Make that 4.
Keeping an eye on these leaders as they cross the line yet again. Whatever Ward was missing a few laps ago, he's found it again temporarily, stretched it away from the number 10. Brody Hayes keeping a watchful eye, hoping for some sort of mistake to give him an opportunity in these scant few laps before they give the halfway points. Side-by-side action behind them. Yazik working his way forward onto the inside of Thomas George.
Yeah, Yazik, even with that damage, he's showing he can still have a shot to win this thing. I'm surprised with how well he's doing with all that front damage, and with that hood popped up a bit. It might actually slightly be helping him in this case, but I don't know if that's the case. It just might be the case of driver skill for that 6th spot. He is in fact in that points battle on top of the point standings. As many points as he needs as many points as he can right now to be able to keep that lead.
Well, it's a bit of short track style racing on this track, and it's a short track style damage on Brian Yazik, not hampering his pace too much. We see our leaders are going to get 75 this time around, but it's not this one. It pays the points. It's the next time around. Brody Hayes is peeking his nose in one last time, but it's going to take a wild dive or a big mistake for him to get an opportunity to get up into P1.
I think they'll just focus on the big picture, the finishing part of the race at this point, unless you want to move and make up a risk. No one seems to be making that said risk at the moment. Just staying single file, Joe, as they go through 3 and 4. Krobach goes high, but he'll still stay in.
So your halfway award from American Pool Supply is going to go to Jeff Ward, who gets the max points out of that one. Still a lot of racing yet to go.
And that's going to help out a little bit for the points for Tommy Ryan, who's been closing in as the season's been wrapping up on Yazik. He's going to now gain an extra 3 points on your current points leader because of those bonus points. Meanwhile, James Grahula, he's trying to make things interesting, making this a 3 to 4 car battle with Ricky Harden now.
Yeah, Yazik is looking to the inside of Thomas George, the number 24, holding down that P6. Just manages to keep it together. A little bit of a tail wiggle coming out of 2. Is he deep enough onto the brakes? He is not, as Thomas George is brave up on that high side. And now in his mirrors, he's getting the number 4, just filling it up down the front stretch one more time. A tight pack of 3. And it looks like Grahula is going to think a little bit better of it, backing off, trying to square off the corner as the number 24 and the number 55 almost come together in front of him, and they are not giving up. This is slowing all 4 of them up. And the number 15 of Ricky Harden getting a little bit impatient. Same thing with James Grahula.
Yeah, Grahula now looking to follow Yazik through that hole. You can see he's also trying to break up the momentum a bit of Harden behind him, but that hurts Grahula, in fact, with the way he exited that time. And now Yazik, he might be able to complete it here. He will, in fact, get by Thomas George for 6th position.
Boy, George pinched him very hard down on entry into that corner, but it did not pay off. It's still not done yet, and Grahula gives a little bit of a thought about 3 wide, but thinks better of it. He's going to have to stay behind, cannot follow through.
Yeah, this is getting to the point, too. You are now past the 20 lap point on these tires in green flag runs. You're going to start seeing some cars getting more and more loose. So this is the time where you say, can I take this risk without getting too loose or getting too tight on an entry or exit? Speaking of tight.
Losing traction midway, the number 4 slides up into Thomas George. They come together, both able to continue. Ricky Harden takes an interest in this, and he makes the same move as he gets into the side of the 24. Just a glancing blow, and Thomas George finally has to give up the ghost. Oh, but he comes back with a great exit off of 2. Sticks his nose to the inside of Ricky Harden. I don't think he's going to be able to get this spot back, though.
I think we're at the point where we need to have chrome siding for some of these cars based on some of the bumping there. But that's what to expect in this situation with the tires starting to wear down more and more. You'll have more cars getting tighter on the entry when they're trying to do stuff like that.
Wow, and look at George, though. He's coming back at him. He is not giving up. He gets a little wobbly off of 2.
Yeah, he seemed a little aggravated after the bump from Grahula. He doesn't want to lose spots to guys like Ricky Harden here. He wants to stay up in at least 8th spot and try and get the spot back from Grahula, but he won't be able to keep the spot. Harden able to get by finally. And who's behind them in 10th? Punkari.
Making his way back forward after that bad restart. Finally, the number 15 of Harden prevails, gets himself into 8th spot. Seen a lot of drivers moving up and down the order, but one driver, is a pass for the lead attempt there from the number 10. 2 drivers who have been up at the front since the drop of the green is Ward and Hayes. And I think at this point, Ward is probably getting tired of that white machine filling his mirrors.
Yeah, that they've been able to work their way far from that third and fourth position of Devin Serra and Tommy Ryan, getting about 6 or 7 car lengths apart from them. But this battle's starting to get intensified, as right now Tommy Ryan, he wants to get up in that top 3, and he probably wants to, of course, be in contention for the win. He did get his first win of the season at Richmond last week. Wouldn't he love to get a back-to-back?
Devin Serra started this race in 11th. He is currently in 3rd. He's been holding it for quite a while. In fact, at this point, the majority of the race, you could say, for that number 20. Even though he didn't qualify this high, he has earned his way up into the leaders. The gap of 1 second is no matter. Still going to get a haul of points if he can hold this down. Back in 11th, we've also got some action.
Yes, that would be a battle between Matt Murphy and Troy Haight right now, as Haight is able to get by on the pass, in fact. This is now a 4-car tandem, really. We've seen guys like Norman Pelletier slap against the wall in this group, but it has been consistently tough riding, as Paulson's going to ride up to the top line. And we're seeing some different lines, to say the least, trying to be tested here, but Pelletier is going to have to make sure he holds on. He's starting to get looser by the lap.
This is one of the longer green flag runs we've seen. Do you think we're starting to get the track a little bit too hot with cars not relenting? Are we getting a bit of a conveyor belt now?
I would have to agree with you, because you're seeing it with how the cars are running, and this is what to be expected. That's why, for example, in the NASCAR iRacing series, which is essentially running the exact same length of race on iRacing here this week, it's kind of where you want to pit every 33 to 40 laps for tires to make sure you don't have that happening here.
And Tommy Ryan battling for 3rd place. He's been hassling Devin Serra for a number of laps. Serra says, no way. I like this 3rd spot, and he holds him off yet again.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to hold on to him. The top 2's just running away at this point. Some drivers might be trying to think, I just want to get by. It's just 29.6s right now from Serra at the moment, compared to the rest of the field. Well, Tommy Ryan was a full 1/10 of a second faster, even when trying to make that pass last time by. And this time by is going to be actually Serra with the 10th faster. But right now, I think he's just trying to say, I don't want to let these leaders run away. That's why he's trying to get to that bottom as quick as he can.
That black line around the corner is getting darker and darker, and though we don't have the sun beating down, the heat coming off of the bottom of these cars probably causing that line to get a little bit slippery at this point. Could we see the first green flag pit stops of this race? Is 5th place between Brian Yazik and Michael Krobach. Yazik gets himself into 5th.
Yeah, Yazik with that beat-up car, he's still got the pace, and he's getting his way back to that field. That might be also why Tommy Ryan wants to get by for position. He wants to get some kind of points advantage on that standings battle right now. He's been chipping away at it late at the season. He doesn't want to lose ground at the end of this race. That's why, I think, too, he's on that back door. As we got another pit stop right that moment. Pelletier is in.
All right, we're seeing the first of our drivers bite on a risky stop here. This could potentially hurt Norman, as if we get a caution now, he is in bad shape and stuck a lap down. Meanwhile, Tommy Ryan to the inside of Devin Serra for that 3rd spot. Is he finally going to get it done? Could pull a slide job if he wants to go up high, and he does block some momentum. Ooh. They make a little bit of contact, but it is good.
That was nerve-wracking, because you can see Ryan kept on going up and up and up, and Serra didn't want to relent there. You're seeing his onboard here. This is the perfect angle of what just happened on that exit. As Ryan went up with the slide job, Serra did not want to lift whatsoever, but he did end up after having to relent the position there is Ryan. He's now got some clean air to try and catch up to that top 2.
Number 6 with a beautiful execution on that pass to get him onto the podium. Are we going to see any other takers for that pit stop soon?
I'm going to probably guess that some of the strategy might be also to cut the race in half. We went on green at about lap 59, lap 60, so cutting it about halfway would be at about from lap 100 to 105, depending on what kind of strategy you want to play here. So pit stops are going to essentially start heating up within the next 10 to 15 laps. The question is, when do you want to come in?
There we see Brody Hayes falling behind from Jeff Ward. We do have a change position behind him as Ricky Harden gets past James Krahula for 7th.
And Thomas George also went in right as you were mentioning that as well. He's going in for that window. And one of the main... And we got trouble in the backstretch.
And that is Devin Serra after what was a fantastic performance today. Oh, he got helped, it looks like, a little bit. Brian Yazik was behind him. And unfortunately, it wasn't Brian that set it off. I should clarify. Sarah was already getting loose, you can see, and Brian just bad place, bad time.
Yeah, we'll watch on board of Brian Yazik here as Brian Yazik, he has the perfect view. He's now up to 3rd with this. You can see Sarah got loose off of 2. That was the case of the tires finally going. And that was the case of Brian Yazik getting some extra damage at this point. But a bad break for Captain Motorsports is Devin Serra in that situation. And that means now he's going to have a ton of damage. Correction there, Brian Yazik is in 4th. Tommy Ryan's in 3rd. Pardon me.
Wonder if this is going to give a bit of a slow stop for Yazik as we see cars come into the pits.
Yeah, everyone probably going to get 4 tires. We did have some cars like we've seen go in the green. Someone that really got hurt by that, I think, would be Thomas George. That's for sure.
Ooh. Boy, Ricky Harden absolutely slid the car into his stall. Somehow hit his mark sideways, and not the way you usually expect a car to be sideways in the pits.
At this point, I think he's doing it for fun. That's the second time I've seen him do that this race. And it is working somewhat, but look at that. Tommy Ryan's in 2nd.
Wow, fantastic stop by Ryan. And Hayes with a horrible stop. He goes from 2nd to 4th. Yazik did not elect to repair that damage as he gets up to 3rd. Now, we have our lucky dog, our coastal safety auditor's lucky dog. And that is Brad Collins who's going to get it this time. Coastal Safety Auditors, your one-stop shop for fire, life, and safety equipment and services. With that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back for the green. Welcome back to New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We're getting ready for another restart here. kicking off on lap 101. Jeff Ward will take the lead. Tommy Ryan, after those pit stops, will restart in second. Yazik also jumps up to third. Brody Hayes falling downward. Disappointment for him. Restarts fourth. And Ricky Harden will round out the top 5 after he really had to climb his way back through the field. An incident set him far back into the pack. So, as the Mustang pace car comes out of turn 4, Jeff Ward gets the jump. Number 9 is going to have a hard time holding on to that because he's already losing a nose to the number 10. Brody Hayes wants second place back from the 6, pinches him a little bit on entry, but it looks like it hurt him mid-corner as the number 6 gets back on it, and here's an over-under as the number 10 gets for that second place. Boy, it's hard fighting.
Yeah, going with the crossover move, and it's going to actually work for Brody Hayes. A very aggressive, yet successfully executed move there to get up to second, and a lot of shuffling around just behind him. Michael Krobach now challenging Ricky Harden, and now Brian Yazik wants to get into the party for third.
Remember, Yazik had to climb back through as well. Both he and Harden pretty much making a duo, parting the seas. And boy, Tommy Ryan wanted that spot back as he was all over the rear spoiler of Brody Hayes, but he backs off before they hit turn 3. A little bit of side-by-side action behind them. Krobach did not have a successful attempt and lost his momentum. That allows James Krahula up into 6.
Now he's just shuffling back through that leaderboard, but now finally into that single file situation. Is Derek Paulson going to ride up the track just behind him and lose a ton of time? As things start slipping up a bit, Krobach might eventually try and get by Krahula again. He just can't get the exits, the entrances, nor the exits he needs to get up to him.
Boy, laps are running out. We've got only 47 left to go. Drivers are starting to show what they're made of, especially here at the top of the pack. The cream has certainly rise back to the top. Some of these names really have proven themselves throughout the season. Ward, Hayes, Ryan, Yazik, Harden, Krahula, Krobach, all known in this series for a while.
And when it comes to that, you mentioned some of the big names. Tyler Dalton, I'm going to mention him again. Under that caution, he had his luck continue to go south. He lost focus during the caution and ran to the back of Justin Rodden. So he is now back in the garage area with repairs, so he could be just
returned to track, actually. Oh, meanwhile, up at the front, sorry to cut you off again there. We're seeing the number 10 of Brody Hayes get himself back into second on the restart, and now he wants to take first away from the number 89.
It's going to take him some time to get for that pass. We just got to see here, and we're going to clarify here with Dalton.
His simulation apparently had a bit of a glitch or something. They said it lost focus in the chat. I'm not sure what he means by that, but it looks like maybe just having some problems with iRacing that caused him to get into the back of him. Meanwhile, this battle up at the front is getting intense with fewer and fewer laps on the board left to go. You can see the top 3 who have really been fighting it out most of this race are once again finding themselves in the same position they were before.
In the same position, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see that chrome horn again from Brody Hayes. He almost thought about it. And you can see Tommy Ryan just watching as P5 and P6. Krobach again now making his move on Krahula.
He's been a teammate with Krahula for a while, so we shouldn't expect these two to get together, and the 7 loses grip off the corner. That's going to deny him the chance to take P6 away from the number 4.
Yeah, Krobach stopped the bleeding at 7th spot for dropping back, and he does have the pace today to keep up in that top 10 right now, and you're seeing exactly why. He is fighting hard to get as many spots as he can to continue one of his best runs of the season, while Punkari is on his back door.
A nose inside from Brody Hayes once again on Jeff Ward through 3 and 4. Battle for P1 is back on as he gets pinched down on the exit. Once again, we're seeing the number 10 struggling to try and make moves.
Yeah, it's got to be careful, though, because he is known for having tire wear fall off earlier than some of the other competitors went up front. He doesn't want to wear them out too fast to the point where he drops out of that position in second, but he just wants to get there now. That's why he's trying to poke his nose under every turn 4 right now. He's got to be careful, though. That could hurt him in the long run.
Put yourself in the number 10 shoes, Justin. What would your approach be? Would you be attacking like Brody is right now, or would you maybe wait a little patiently, save something of the car for later?
The latter one for sure, because I would want to make sure I have enough tires and enough patience to make your move at the end of the race. I've said make your move probably 26 times at this point, but that is the case. You do not want to become the leader on worn out tires and then end up losing it again with 5 laps to go or something like that. I think it's more you got to be patient in these kind of races rather than immediately get up there and hope for a quick caution or something like that.
If they don't have a caution immediately after the restart, they certainly get a long green flag run according to how this race has been going so far, and it looks like the pattern is going to repeat as everybody is mostly single file, not a lot of side-by-side action, a few noses being stuck into corners, and at this point maybe everybody's starting to size up each other and figure out what they want to do when it gets down to 10 to go.
That's exactly what I think everyone's really doing. There is a possibility some drivers might decide to bring it down to the pits one more time, but with everyone going around with the 50 laps to go mark with the caution, you might see everyone just try and stick it out. The question is, can they hold onto the car for that long? So I wouldn't be
back in 11th, 12th, what we see on screen, a lot of fighting here between this pack. So you can see some side-by-side as the 42 of Matt Murphy drifts high on the exit, and that allows Thomas George to sneak down on the low side. That was Rick Thompson ahead of him, who was making an attempt on Derek Paulson as well. And despite all the battling, they have run down Troy Haight.
Yeah, and Thomas George just ran a tiny bit into the back of by Matt Murphy by the Golden Crown, or make that twice. As Thompson's going to lose it again just in front of them, and he doesn't go around, and more trouble behind. A lot of trouble, in fact.
That was Brad Collins, and despite him turning the car around completely, getting tipped 3 wide by Don Runkle, a hard hit to the inside we'll see here on the replay. No caution.
Yeah, I think their main reason for the no caution was it wasn't high enough on the racing groove. It might have been considered still be on the apron for that. Peltier, a lot of damage here. We're going to see him, Peltier's angle of this behind the Speed Mafia car. Brad Collins got loose off the corner, got into the left rear, stuck his nose in, and just lost it.
Well, Pelletier was able to continue. Brad Collins sadly had to take the car into the pits. Smoking engine means his day is done. There's a lot of talk on the radio between the 3 drivers on what went down. Runkle claimed a little bit of innocence at first, saying he was on the high side. He had nowhere to go. I'm kind of on Runkle's side. I mean, when you're on the high side of 3, what are you going to do there?
On the high side of a grouping of 3, just hope nothing goes wrong, because it was technically on the exit, really. It was just, I personally, looking back at it, it might have been just a poking under the nose situation where it was 2 wide and then it went to that 3 wide. But there's nothing really you can really do if you're in a situation where other cars get up like that. You just got to focus and hope you don't get bumped into, I guess, the best way to put it.
Watching our leaders continue around, Hayes is keeping a watchful eye on our leader, and if we can give a little bit of screen time to poor Tyler Dalton, I think the Dory Award is definitely going to go to him today. He's just continued on out there. He's 19 laps down. It looks more and more unlikely that he's going to be able to get many positions. He's going to move up to 20th once he passes by Brad Collins, who will probably hand that over with him being in the pits currently. And just look at the damage on that sucker-free racing car.
Yeah, I'm very surprised it's still running, honestly. It's probably very close to blowing an engine, but he's able to just keep it going. That's what you need to do in this situation. You just gotta try and make the best of a situation and run as many laps as you can. That's exactly what he is doing there. And that's exactly what guys are trying to do up front. They're going to start to have to deal with lap cars in the near future, though. John Wilco is just up the road, up the straightaway from guys like Brody Hayes, who a lot of people say needs a sponsorship.
A very blank white car. One thing I will say about Dalton is if he loses the engine, it certainly won't be because of the radiator with all the missing bodywork on the front of that thing. But Hayes, that number 10, even if he doesn't get the win, this has been a fantastic run for that machine. He's fought hard, and he has certainly earned this position. You should also give a shout out to Captain Motorsports Murphy, or excuse me, I don't believe he is for that team. I may be calling that one wrong. But Murphy is not typically in the top 10 in this series, and somehow has found himself up the order.
Yeah, he is on his one-man team, Murphy Motorsports. He did have a bonus point coming into today's race. He's in the last race, actually at Richmond, about that halfway point, but he's had basically a quiet season for the most part. He's having a great run. He was in that top 10 for part of the race until he got some shuffled up a bit, having that right side damage, getting up into the wall a bit before. But this is a nice run from Murphy Motorsports today.
We missed another chrome horn there from Brody Hayes on the back of Jeff Ward. Just a bit of a tap into the rear bumper, and then he backs off to give him some space.
Yeah, well, it's getting to the point where we're approaching that 25 laps to go point. Maybe he's deciding to go for that go point. I still think it's a bit too early to push it, but I think at the same time he's just trying to keep up that pace as Punkari. Something's going on with Thomas George, pardon me, here with Troy Haight as well.
They look a little bit far apart, actually. I'm not sure.
This is a big battle, I should say, right here that's going on, as this was showing here. They are trying to fight very aggressively. Thomas George and Troy Haight going back and forth. Sean Joe, almost called you Sean, pardon me, there for Force of Habit, but these guys going back and forth. This is just for ninth position, essentially. But we got a caution.
Looks like Justin Rodden, and I suspect this was coming out of turn 2. Another victim. Look at that smoking car.
Yep, we got another victim, and that one's going to make a barbecue as he just hit the metal guardrails on the inside. Nothing you can do in that situation with how loose it was. Just absolutely nothing you can do. His race is done, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's all she wrote for the number 27 we're going to watch on board. Wow, it got loose early on that exit. He was a passenger. I'm expecting pit stops here.
Wouldn't you think?
24 to go. Now's the time to take them.
I wouldn't be surprised if everyone takes 4 tires here. If someone does take 2, that might be a very big risk as everyone dives into the pit road. It may be able to get you near the front, but I think this might be one of the last times, if not the last time, we'll see these guys go down pit road unless we get a quick caution within 10 laps.
The whistle blows and everybody is into the pool. But who is going to be able to get out the fastest? That's the question. Everybody nice and cleanly into their stalls.
Oh, Brody Hayes.
Hayes with a 2-tire call. Is this a race-winning move?
That might be the boldest strategy we've seen of the race. He had been fighting with Ward the whole time. We'll have to see if that is enough. He had about a 6-second advantage on pit stops compared to the rest of the field. That changes a lot of things. We've seen this cars with 2 tires with 10 lap difference, not with 20 something, as we do have a lucky dog.
Indeed, it is John Wilco, you can see on your screen, who's going to get the Coastal Safety Auditors Lucky Dog. Coastal Safety Auditors, your one-stop shop for fire, life, and safety equipment and services.
Hey, if you go to the pool, you do have to have your safety equipment, your life rafts and whatnot. You may as well go to a very good place such as that to get that set equipment.
What pool do you go to that has a life raft? That's what I want to know. It sounds like a really cool pool to me.
I think American Pool Supply's pool, the pool they might have in the backyard, I don't know. I meant
big enough
life,
for a life draft, all right.
I meant life preserver, but...
I figured that's what you meant.
But yeah.
All right, so they're going to get going soon, and the order this time is going to be different on the restart. Up at the front for the very first time this race, Brody Hayes will lead. Jeff Ward, Tommy Ryan starts third. Brian Yazik restarts fourth. And James Krahula, how about that? We didn't pay attention. He moves up to fifth.
Yeah, Krahula having a good stop. Faster by compared to some of the cars around him by about half a second, which got him up there as they bring him on the wave around. He's moved up 14 spots since the start of this race. He's been in the top 10 for much of it. Well, he does have that damage from an earlier incident. He's just been able to consistently stay in his lane, really, and keep off different battles. The main battle, though, is going to be that battle for the lead. Brody Hayes taking that high side. It has been working for Ward the whole race, essentially. Now, we'll see if Hayes can make it work.
20 to go when they go green. Lights are off on the Mustang pace car. Is it going to stay green the rest of the way? Are we going to get one last caution? We even have time for 2 or 3 if things go terribly bad, but that's going to be up to the drivers and how aggressive they are on these restarts and these final laps. Now's when you need to make up positions. Through 3 and 4, Mustang pace car peels off into the pit lane. Brody Hayes has control this time. He doesn't get a very good jump, as we've seen that Ward has. He holds on to the back, but it's not enough to try and sneak to the inside, down into 1 and 2. How about Tommy Ryan sticking his nose in down to the inside, holding off Brian Yazik, gets himself into third. Ricky Harden as well, fighting for that 5th position with James Krahula.
Yeah, we've seen Ward right on that restart into 1, giving the Crone horn right back to Brody Hayes. That was the little tiny that was why it was made, as Harden is able to get that 5th spot. But look at this, Thomas George, he's trying to get to 6 now from Krahula.
Oh, almost drifts up into him. Krahula just gives him barely enough space, and they come out the other side. I don't know how. I thought that 24 was going to turn the number 4 in a second. Meanwhile, the 15 ahead of him giving another go at Brian Yazik, who's trying to fit him off with the momentum on the high side.
He's able to hold it off because that high side is better for the exits. You just got to make sure you get underneath. Harden does have less damage on his car, but he's also got to worry about what's in his back mirror because Thomas George is now closing in quickly as he gets by Krahula.
Oh, we got a car loose behind them and a caution is out.
Oh
no, Tyler Dalton cannot catch a break. 19 laps down, and one last blow could be ending things for him. That was Derek Paulson who spun.
Yeah, that is the worst luck possible for Dalton. There's nothing you can do in that situation. Paulson was getting loose in the bottom and then in the end drifted up to the high side. Dalton had gotten a bunch of repairs this race. And that finally made it into a barbecue, and he's going to go behind the wall just like that.
Yeah, and it was understandable for Dalton to hold to that high side. He saw that car low, all the smoke down there, and then at the last second is when Paulson's car drifted back up to that high side.
Yeah, and the question is, who will go down pit lane? Nobody, in fact, has gone down. Not
too surprised to see the drivers having a little bit of yellow fever here at the end. Now, I believe we should have Brad Collins as a lucky dog. No, he's coming to the pits. So I think that means no lucky dog this time, Justin.
Yeah, Brutus will not have the chance to play just yet. So again, he's got a few chances today. This time he's got to wait and see what happens next. Because anything can happen. Brody Hayes is still up in that first spot. Ricky Harding got up to 5th. And we have a few different shuffles. Matt Murphy just outside the top 10 as well, just to point out.
With that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll take it all the way to the end from there, here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Don't go away and see the checkered flag here in the Patriot Fire Cup Series. Welcome back to New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We are 14 laps to go. It's going to be 13 to go. Hopefully not unlucky 13 here as we try to keep it green to the end. And Brody Hayes is going to lead the way once again. Jeff Ward will restart second. Tommy Ride third. Brian Yazik fourth. And Ricky Hardin fifth. This is it. It is go time. As Sean likes to say, it is time to boogie. As the pace car once again peels off and gives Brody Hayes control. He does not wait whatsoever. This time a much better jump on Jeff Ward, who is already a car length back. Brian Yazik trying to get as good of a run on the outside as he can to get into third and take it away from Tommy Ryan. Tommy Ryan tries to fight back on the low side, and they're going to be side by side for third as well as fifth behind them, with Thomas George and Ricky Harding fighting.
Yeah, and Tommy Ryan, he's going to dig in deep on that entry, and Ward right to the back bumper of Hayes, giving almost a crone horn, too wide just behind of them. Lots of shuffling around here, as Hardin now underneath. He has a Krolbach right on his back bumper.
Hardin losing a little bit of... Oh, and Hayes with a problem. He loses the lead out two. Car gets swirly. He tries to come back into the high side and cuts off the nose of Tommy Ryan, who gets back into Brian Yazik, who also has to check up.
Well, he did take those two tires with about a 20-plus lap difference. That is a major risk, and that is what happens when you take said risk. He is going to have to fight just to stay in that spot now, as more loose car in two.
Thomas George sliding, and he gets up into Matt Murphy, who goes into the wall. More cars getting involved. The number 76 of Rick Thompson.
And that was a big accident. Don Runkle Jr. had a car land on top of him from that one. George got clipped, went down, Murphy, and then Calamity Corner starts.
Thomas George unhappy about the incident. As you said, started off with Krobach just a little bit high. Boy, and we're going to watch on board Thompson. James Corhula had a lucky escape off to the high side. You're going to see him just up above, and poor Thompson just had no place to go with cars all around him getting together.
Yeah, there was nothing you can do there. He's seen the cars on the bottom, and then come up on top. You just hold on and become a passenger, like in their situations there.
I don't know if we've already left the replay, but I don't know if we can get it on board of Brett Pancari, but he had a fantastic escape from that incident.
And we do have that replay right here, Joe. We'll see what's going on here with this replay. It's too wide in front of him. He's in 7th at the time of this.
Just duck slow just in time.
Yeah, and just in time, indeed, as he sees all the calamity in his back mirror.
I mean, we couldn't see it from the onboard as we come live, but the number 24 was just a paper's width away of turning him around when he snuck through that low side. Now down to 9 laps to go, and a few more cars have headed to the pits for repairs. Thomas George, Don Runkle Jr. is among them.
Yeah, Matt Murphy also now behind the garage area. Don Runkle just came out from his repairs.
Now, I'm not sure if we had a lucky dog. We're trying to figure out if there was one. Rick Thompson has stayed out, but his car is smoking. Let's see if he comes in this time. No. Number 76 is going to gut it out.
Maybe he's hoping this thing finishes under caution. I don't think that's going to be the case. I'm pretty sure he's probably got a meatball flag by now and is probably just stretching out in case something else happens so he doesn't lose any additional spots to guys still in the race, maybe.
I think you only get 4 laps, is that, with a meatball flag? I'm trying to remember how many. You only get a certain amount of laps to take the meatball, and I don't think Rick Thompson is going to make that because we got 8 to go.
I don't even think he's going to make that. I think that's probably going to go to expiring right when we go green for him. So he's probably going to just bring it by this time by. He's probably just having some fun.
Only 16 cars left on the lead lap. And in fact, only 16 cars left, period. As everybody else who is still in this race is in pit lane and stationary. And just as I say that, Derek Paulson is trying to return.
Yeah, 1 to go as Scott Eckridge in the race control booth finally directs Rick Thompson to go down pit lane with that smoking motor. This will be interesting to watch this finish here. Brody Hayes is still on those 2 tires, though. He's going to have to hold on big time if he wants to hold on to second, especially with Ryan and Yazik, both of them having some good runs. And pardon me there, Thompson's back on the track.
Interesting maneuver. All right, we're going to get restarted with 6 to go. Ward, Hayes, Yazik, Ryan, and Krobach, your top 5. As they come around 3 and 4. Hopefully, for the last time, we'll see the Mustang pace car. Ward has returned to the lead. Gets a great jump, a horrible start from the 10, even gets a bump from the 6, and look at Brian Yazik. He is coming on strong. He looks down to the inside, but he can't break deep enough. Or can he? He finds speed mid-corner, trying to get the launch off of it. They're going to be side by side. Brian Yazik has come from nowhere at the end of this race. Can he recover from an incident early on to take the win away from the 89, who has led the vast majority of these laps?
This is a crazy finish here, that's for sure, Joe. And this is the kind of racing you expect from a guy like Yazik. I wasn't expecting this to happen, of course, with this damage, but he's making it work on that bottom side as it's still double file. Brody Hayes, meanwhile, slipping back as Ricky Harding gets underneath him for the 3rd spot.
Hayes starting to regret that 2-tire call. The number 15 gets to the inside, and you can see the 10 just does not have the grip. But up front, Brian Yazik has his nose ahead. Can't get the speed off the corner. The 89 trying to defend. This time, he's much stronger. Is Brian Yazik going to be aggressive down in deep? No, he is not. He slots back in a single file. 4 laps to go now.
You have to wonder if he'd be willing to do that crown horn like we've seen a few different times on the last lap to get Ward a little tiny bit squirrely. They are teammates meanwhile, so it's gonna be interesting to see what the discussion's gonna be, as they're both of them probably excited for each other, battling here with 3 laps to go.
This time a little bit lower entry for Jeff Ward. That almost cost him the high side as Yazik got up beside him and then lost the speed mid-corner. Stretching away with a great run down towards 3. Jeff Ward keeps him at bay.
Both of them just letting it roll through the corner. Both of them great exits and going the exact same speeds as each other down the front straightaway. 2 to go. This is the point where you need to make your move if you want to do it.
Penultimate lap. It is do or die time. The number 89 gets himself back up to the front, but he's having to fight for it. Brian Yazik, is he going to be able to get close enough? Sizing up the corner, tries to get the launch off of it, but he's just about even with the Mid-South driver. White flag is waving. 1 to go. Down into 1 and 2. A little bit deep for Brian Yazik, trying to get himself close and up to that rear bumper. Can't get the run off the corner. Down the backstretch, the number 89 is looking safer than ever. Down into 3 and 4. It's going to take a miracle for Brian Yazik if he wants to take away this win. But once again, he is denied as Jeff Ward comes off of 4 and takes the win at New Hampshire. Yazik takes second. Ricky Harden, how about that pass? Past Brody Hayes to get himself onto the podium. On the last restart, Hayes took a gamble and it did not pay off, winding up in 4th. Tommy Ryan as well. He was in 3rd most of this race. He slipped back to 5th when all was said and done. But Jeff Ward is going to get the trophy today. And with that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results, as well as driver interviews. And on screen, we'll have all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We just saw the end of the round 29 for the Patriot Fire Cup Series here in the Premier Racing League. Jeff Ward is the one who wound up and with the win yet again. He's been on a tear, but man, he had to work hard for this one. If it wasn't Brody Hayes trying to fight him for it, it was Brian Yazik who tried his best to topple Ward, but he had to settle for second. Ricky Harden, after the race, was talking to the other drivers, said that was his best restart he's ever run, and that merited him with a third. Brody Hayes, despite what was a fantastic race most of the way through, started 8th, still came home in 4th, but I'm sure he was hoping for more. That 2-tire stop certainly did not pay dividends. Tommy Ryan finished within the top 5, just behind him. Michael Krobach's season-high finish for the number 7, taking home 6th. Brett Pancari finishes in 7th, with James Kurhula winding up in 8th after qualifying in 19th. How about a hard charger there? Troy Heat finishes in 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is going to be Neumann Pelletier.
Just outside that top 10, Jonathan Lawrence in his WWE car came away with a decent finish, while Don Runkle Jr. came away in 12th. Thomas George had some bad luck after having his pit strategy fail where he went on the green flag run. He finished 13th. Stephen Herring had the lucky dog a couple of times tonight and came away with the 14th position, while John Wilco finished off in the top 15, 15th overall. Rick Thompson, with a blown motor at the end of this one, finished 6 laps down, the same amount as Derek Paulson in 17th. Matt Murphy, he had a good run for most of the race, sticking at the bottom half of the top 10 and just outside that top 10 until some trouble late in the race finished him off into 18th. Justin Ronan, he had a race to forget, bouncing off the wall multiple times before finally blowing his engine with about 26 laps to go in 19th. And in 20th, Brad Collins.
21st is obviously all DNFs, as you can tell by the number of laps down. They were Tyler Dalton in 21st, Devin Sarah 22nd, Drew Carroll 23rd. Woody Mahan finishes in 24th, Josh King 25th, and Jonathan Cadell is tail end Charlie on the field in 26th. We're going to start off with our winner, Jeff Ward, to see what he thought about having to make a hard fight to take home this win. Jeff, if it wasn't Brody, who was fighting you all race long, in the end, you had to try and fend off a very hard-charging Brian Yazik.
Yeah, Joe, that, good Lord, I had to drive the heck out of this thing, man, to stay in front of them guys all night long. Like you said, Brody was, he had a heck of a car there, mid-race, towards the end there. And then Brian at the end, that's my teammate. We tried to race clean, and it could have got a little dicey. Luckily, we was both able to stay straight and drive it up off the corners there, but that was a lot of fun, and definitely had to work my ass off for that one.
I'm guessing you had sussed out that Brody Hayes had taken 2 tires on that final pit stop to be able to jump you. Were you worried about being able to get past him, or did you feel confident knowing that you had 4 fresh ones, you could eventually snipe him?
Well, it's hard to pass here. When he did that, I was kind of, I didn't know how it would work out, but then I started thinking, well, if it's so hard to pass, I might not be able to get under this guy here. But, he ended up getting loose there off 2, or he might have just stayed out there in the lead. So, tough break for him getting loose there. It almost made him into a genius if he could have held on to it there, taking 2 tires. But, he still, I think he got a 4th place finish there. So, still a good, good for him to be able to hold on and get a good top 5 finish on 2 tires. That shows what kind of talent he has.
There's certainly a thin line between looking smart and looking foolish when it comes to these strategy decisions. Now, up next, we're going to a very different 1-mile oval with a ton of banking at Dover. Do you think you can perform just as well as you did on a flat track?
Yeah, I like Dover pretty good. It's always a fun track, but it's one of those tracks that's really easy to get in trouble. The cars are bunched up there, and this one you kind of get spaced out in single file a little bit, but Dover's one of them tracks where it seems like you stay nose to tail a lot of the race, and restarts are always tricky, spinning the tires. I'm hoping some of these dynamic adjustments will make it where we can do a little bit of 2-groove and 3-groove racing there at Dover. I think that would be awesome. But I'm looking forward to going there. I like Dover. I actually like all the short tracks. So it's a good little stretch of races here to end out the season.
Well, again, congratulations on your win. You earned it today, and I'm sure you've got to get a towel to wipe some of that sweat off.
Yeah, man, I'm wore out. I got to get the as my teammate calls it, the old ball fan here spinning. But yeah, man, if I could, I'd like to thank my team there, LPM, Loud Pedal Motorsports, PRL. You guys, as always, for doing the broadcast. And if my dad's watching, I'll give him a shout out. He likes to watch these and watch us boys go at it. So, yeah, man, and this family and friends.
All right. Well, we hope Mr. Ward enjoyed seeing his son take another win. But second place is going to be going to Brian Yazik, and it seems like Justin Prince has caught up with him.
Yes, indeed I have, as he fought his way through a lot of adversity today, to put it lightly. From what happened on one of the restarts early on with a ton of damage to having to work his way through the field once again. Brian, how exactly did you do it, especially with your car beat up as much as it was from that restart situation?
Well, Justin, everybody seems to tell me that it was beat up more than it was on my screen. It only, after that whole deal went down, I only had 31 seconds of optional, so I wasn't hurt too bad, but I don't know if that was just more of a, iRacing netcode that made it all look worse than it really was. I mean, oh God, yeah, I see it on the replay that you guys got. God. All right, well, no, we did that all with that damage. We're Mr. Driver Man and awesome, and but no, we it's funny. I've been driving most of this season. I got a new wheel in the off season. Joe Peak knows he's got my old G27, the signed championship autograph edition. He'll tell you about that post race. So I got this new Thrustmaster, and just the other night I'm like, I want to look in the settings of it. I wanted to fiddle around, and the wheel rotation was set at 540. And I don't know how long it's been that way. So my best guess is I've driven 3/4 of the season with half of the degrees of rotation I should have. So tonight was the first night that I really got a chance to haul it and drive it right. And we were really, really good on the long runs. I think we would have had some track position. If that restart wouldn't have happened, we could have been up there and maybe given Jeff more of a run for it later on or earlier on instead of with 2 to go.
Yeah, with that run, I just wanted to ask you about that as well, or was just about to get to that. How did you have as big of a fight as you did at the end there to position yourself the right way to try and battle with your teammate right to the finish?
Well, we communicate all the time in Loud Pedal Motorsports, so Jeff took that outside restart and we kind of snookered Brody a little bit on that one. And it got out front, and he was saying that off of the restart, he was checking up in the middle of the corner real bad. It was just plowing big on entry. And we got down there, and I got on the inside, and he pushed up, and I thought, oh, well, crap, that's the first time this nose has seen clean air since qualifying. And it seemed like that kind of helped mitigate it a little bit. But then, with the way that Loudon is set up, that top lane is the best. But, we gave this HPP simulation Ford Fusion really, really good showing. God, man, my luck was crap the last couple weeks, and that restart happened, and I'm like, oh, man, here we go again. But we were able to rebound, get back up to P2, drive up through the field, give Mark a good show, because I know you guys were probably wondering just how the heck I was going to do this. But we got there and salvaged a pretty good day.
Yeah, you salvaged a pretty good day indeed. I apologize for Brian's mildly offensive language if anyone is offended by certain words like that. But of course...
What did I say?
Something involving the letter C. It's just a mild apology / mild joke. But we are going to another mild tracks for next week at Dover, Brian. So what are you going to do when we get to to Dover, pardon me.
Well, I know what I'm going to do when I get to Brian later. I'm going to go to bed because I got to be up at stupid early tomorrow for work. But, I liked Dover. I ran really good in the off season, in the winter series. I ran there at Dover, finished second to Scott. So that number 70 machine, anytime you finish second to anytime you finish second to Scott anywhere, you did something pretty good. But it's all going to be about kind of like same idea as tonight. You're going to want to get in there. You're going to want to roll the center, and you're going to want to. You're definitely going to want to take care of that right front. So you don't want to abuse that as the run progresses. But we're sitting good. I'm more looking forward to the next couple right after that. I like Dover, but I like Chicagoland and Iowa a lot more. So we'll just have to see how this see how the season goes. It's I can't believe we're getting down to the end of it, man. That's just nuts for me.
Yeah, it is getting nuts. You still are on top of the points lead right now, but it is starting to get much more tighter as the season continues to wind down. Brian Yazik finishing off in second place. Thank you very much for the time, sir.
Hey, thank you. And go out to hppsimulation.com and buy some pedals. And Mark's got a new project coming with the steering wheel coming out and all that. So that's going to be really good. And we'll see y'all. Thanks everybody for hanging out, and we'll catch you all down the road.
Thank you very much, Brian. And I believe Joe has your third place finisher as well in Ricky Harden. Joe?
Yes, indeed. Now, what Brian didn't tell you about that wheel is all the Cheeto dust I had to wipe off of it. But anyways, we've got Ricky Harden with us, who managed to take home a podium. Ricky, you were talking at post-race with some of your fellow drivers saying that is the best restart you've ever driven. What do you think made the difference?
I don't know. I just, the 10 didn't get going, and I decided I needed to get out from behind him. So I got to the top, and I just sailed it in, and it stuck. And I don't really know what I did differently. I got damaged from that earlier crash. The whole rear end of the car was torn off, and it was really kind of hurting our straightaway speed a little bit. But boy, it didn't help. It didn't hurt me on that last restart. It felt like I just, dove in and made stuff happen. So I was pretty pleased with that. I don't know if I was a third place car.
Well, we were kind of watching you and Brian's progress throughout the field as both you and he had got knocked back in that early incident. Was he parting the seas for you in a way? Was he offering you those opportunities to follow him through the field? Or do you think that was more just all you?
No, absolutely. He was definitely creating opportunities for me. I was trying to save tires. I thought, I would be better at saving tires in the long run and be able to pass him later in the run. But honestly, I didn't do any better than him because I couldn't get runs on him late in the run. Kind of in the middle, I could get right to him. Middle of the run, I could get right to him, and then I'd fall off a little bit. So I guess I pushed a little too hard. It's pretty hard to pass at New Hampshire. So he helped me out a lot getting back to the front.
With iRacing having recently fixed the bug that they had with the dynamic track, what are your thoughts now that they've got it so that it heats up and cools down and has a lot of drastic differences throughout the race? Is it a big difference to you, or do you feel things are not too that they're pretty much the same?
I don't really notice a big difference here, mainly because New Hampshire is one of those tracks that you can kind of take a few different lanes anyway, and the grip had changed anyway throughout the race since they had dynamic track surfaces. This weather, though, there's so much grip everywhere that I didn't really feel big track changes.
Well, hopefully you'll be able to have that kind of control when you guys hit Dover. Thanks for coming and talking to us, and congratulations on third.
Thank you very much, Joe. I'd like to thank all the guys at Unacceptable Racing. Check us out on Facebook. We'll see you later.
With that, we're going to close up here today at New Hampshire. And of course, we want to thank Patriot Fire for sponsoring the Cup Series. And as well, thank you for all the drivers and organizers for making this race happen out here in PRL. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Justin, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, or Facebook at /GlobalSimRacingChannel. Also want to give a special shout out to Sean Ambrose. We miss you, buddy. We have you in our thoughts, and Sean should be back with us soon here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race, as we mentioned, going to be Dover. That'll be Wednesday, September 28th at 9 p.m. Eastern. A lot higher banking than what we saw here today, but also another 1 mile oval short track racing here in the Cup Series. Should be exciting. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.